morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Today, we're doing some art. It's usually Baldur's Gate today, but I think people had a bad night or something. They're not replying to my Discord chats, so we're doing this. We are going to be drawing my character Fern. Here, you can see I've already sketched it out. And she... Ah! My phone fell! My phone fell! It's fine, don't worry about it. Everything's fine. Everything's normal. Everything's normal, nothing happened. Don't worry about it. Okay. My character Fern has recently been transported to the 80's. So we are going to be drawing her as if she was from there. So ooh, Streaks. Hi Ham. Hi Animort. So this is how she looks normally. Listening on the bus, so mostly audio only right now. I will do my best to podcast for you. I salute. So this is how Fern looks normally. She's got sort of normal D&D vibes, right? Like greens and browns and all of that sort of thing. So she's got like a brown skirt and then a little purple overskirt, and then she's got like this green scarf that hangs at her hip and a belt full of stuff. She's got a leather corset and a pretty little frilly blouse and this cloak sort of thing that was gifted to her from her mother. She's got little brown boots with some green spats. And just overall, I love her and her little monocle. My favorite part is her little monocle. If she doesn't have her monocle, she gets migraines. And then they went to Cowboy Land. So the sort of plot of this D&D campaign is that we're in this temple, and every layer is a different time period, essentially. So we had Cowboy Land. So Fern has these little green and brown cowboy boots and some purple pants and her same brown belt and some kind of other thing that represents her corset here. I don't know. Her frilly blouse turns into a collared shirt. She's got a little bow, sort of string bow tie here, and her cloak has turned into a vest, and she's got her hair sort of braided to one side. And her little cowboy hat, made sure to give her a cowboy hat. She had to have it. And then they ventured on to there was a slime area, but that was in their normal clothes. And then they went to pirates. Yeah, pirates. So she's got brown pirate boots with a green cuff and this sort of cream underskirt with a brown skirt on top, and then layered on top of that is a purple sort of tied sash and a green tied sash. She's got her normal belt. Her corset has come up to be an overbust corset, or more like stays. She's kept her blouse pretty much the same as it was. It might be a little more high collared now. And her cloak has turned into a bandana around her neck, and she's got that braid as well. Again, is that the same braid, or did I do it differently? No, I did it differently. I should just copy and paste the braid from the cowboy outfit. Oh well. Oh, and this star necklace. This is her arcane focus, so she always has her star necklace. That's just consistent throughout everything. And now we are moving on to the 80's. We popped out from a dungeon into this 80s arcade. So today we are drawing Fern from the 80s. She's got like a windbreaker and some sneakers. I noticed that Converse from the 80s usually had like a color contrast on the inside, so I made sure to show off that. And yeah, so we're gonna be making this real. And the ponytail I'm gonna be putting in the back. So ponytail's gonna go in the back. There's so many layers here. Because I want to show off more of this jacket. Because it ties in with the shoes down here. Originally I was going to have it over her shoulder, but... So. I also had brown boots for her, but I think the sneakers are more 80s. Even though the brown boots are more Fern. Oops. I think this works better. Okay. So... we're gonna go over top of the sketch, I think, here. And I'm gonna start with the shoes, I think. Which really means we're gonna start with the socks. Where's my music? I haven't had music. I'm so silly. I didn't turn on my music. I was just yapping. I was just yapping the whole time. Alright, there we go. Alright, gonna be a lot less yapping now. Now we're starting to draw. That's okay. Just gonna have some chill vibes. I might actually go through and just erase for the socks, because that'll help get it closer to the skin here. So if I take this and I just erase right on the edge there, help give it a cleaner line. This is about as tutorial as it's gonna get, so make sure you're taking notes if you care. I know some people really wanted me to make tutorials. I've had some requests, but I just don't know. I don't know if I'm the right person to be teaching. I don't have like... I don't know. I'm not really like a teacher. I don't have a lot of knowledge. On like I don't know how to convey information easily. And that's a big part of like tutorials, is like learning how to... I would need to learn how to convey information. Because right now I just kind of do. Like, people are like, Jack, how do you draw this thing? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, I just draw it. I just do. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that's when you sort of just figure out why. You're like, well, why didn't this work? And then you gotta figure that out. Who knows? Who knows why anything, really. Shoes are hard to draw. You gotta get the shape right, or else it looks like a different kind of shoe. But I think I've actually done a pretty good job this time. It looks mostly like a Converse. Converse type shoe. So we got into this 80s arcade, right? And we're hanging out, going to the food court, you know. Fern won a little plushie out of an arcade machine, a little claw machine, which I realized aren't very 80s, but that's fine. 80s American arcades, at least, didn't tend to have a lot of arcade crane games, but it's fine. I love crane games. But I'm pretty sure, like, 80s arcades didn't really have them. They might have had a couple, but, like, they weren't a big thing, I think. For quite a while. But yeah, so we're like hanging out in this arcade, right? And like the lights sort of go out and like everyone's starting to scream and Fern's like, is this some kind of show? Like, are they doing a show in the middle of this like busy like marketplace? Like, what is happening? And then this guy comes out and he's like, I'm the wizard. And we're like, the wizard? Bro, you're not the wizard. There's so many wizards. So the wizard is evil, I guess. He's like, you know, he's an 80s superhero, kind of Power Rangers-esque villain, right? But D&D, so he's the wizard. So the wizard's like, I'm evil. I'm gonna do this evil thing. And we're just like sitting back and watching. And unknown to me, I was muted. So I was pulling out all these cute quips and nobody could hear me. Well, actually that's not true. Penny couldn't hear me because when we do our Wednesday streams, we have to mute each other. And Penny forgot that she had me muted. So I was being really funny and she couldn't even hear me. And I was kind of wondering why she was just ignoring me, but I figured it was just part of the wizard. Well, the wizard didn't want to listen to Fern, and that's fine. But no. The truth is, she truly didn't know that I was talking. She wasn't trying to ignore me on purpose. She just couldn't hear me. So that was annoying, but we fixed it. We fixed it and we moved on. But But yeah, so the wizard starts draining all the color out of the mall. Which is like pretty rude of him, and he's got this orb of red mist. And the red mist is significant because we've been seeing a bunch of red mist and being like, what is this? Right? So we're kind of like, oh shoot, he's got red mist. Like, that's bad. And then these heroes appear kind of out of nowhere, and they're like, we're gonna take you down, the wizard. You've wizard your last wizard. Or something, I don't know. They said something cooler than that. Penny does a really good job of DMing. But, you know, they say their like entrance line, right? And and we're like, oh shoot, like the heroes are here. And we're just sitting back eating our little snacks. But we're like heckling him. We're heckling the wizard the entire time. And eventually he's like, who are you guys? And we're like, oh, we're heroes. I don't know, someone said we're heroes. Fern does not consider herself a hero, but someone said, oh, we're heroes. I think it was Alex's character, Blue Tagella, who we call Blue, Bloot, with T. Sorry, I've got something up with my throat today. So yeah, I think it was Bloot who was like, we're heroes. And he's like, what the heck? I didn't know it was a crossover episode today. So now we're helping the Power Rangers figure out this thing. But he's got a jar of red mist, and that's not good. So we gotta figure that out. We gotta figure out why he's got a jar of red mist. I mean, we know why he's got a jar of red mist. Everyone. So this whole like dungeon is made of red mist, kind of. And we're trying to figure out how to stop the red mist, because back where we're from, it's harming the like villagers. So we have to stop the red mist. That's why we were hired. We're all from the like Adventurers Guild. So we have to stop the red mist, but we're not quite sure how yet. We know we think, so it's this temple of like 3 gods, and we think that one of the gods might be upset about something. I don't know. There was a statue in one of the areas that looked like one of the gods from the temple that we're from, but she was called something different. So we're like, I wonder what happened there, you know? Like, what's different? Why was she called something? Why was she like revered in the past? Or like, I don't know if revered is the right word. Revered feels like one of those words that has like too many meanings that contradict each other. Like nonplussed. I hate the word nonplussed, by the way, because it doesn't mean anything. It truly doesn't mean anything. Like, it has meaning, but it doesn't, because it could mean like two things, and they're like different. It could mean two things that they're like the opposite of each other. And that annoys me. I think that's good enough. How am I gonna do this acid wash texture? So I have to draw acid wash jeans. Because they're like kind of tie-dyed in a way. But it's got this like texture to it. Let's find out how we're gonna do this. When you're drawing in a lineless style, sometimes you have to do like some weird gymnastics when drawing things, because you have to think about things as shapes and like where you're gonna put shading sort of as you're drawing. And sometimes it gets a little weird. But I think I've done pretty well this time. So maybe I'll take this. Just like yeah. Not enough texture. I can go one like darker too. What have I done? There we go. Yeah. Give it some texture here. Cool. And I've noticed that like a lot of them, like acid wash stuff, has like darker like around like pockets and stuff. But I also like this sort of storybook shading, where it's like almost hatching, but not really. If you do it right, it can be really subtle. But it kind of just looks like a children's book, which is always the aesthetic that I aspire to. I'm not sure this will match with Fern's other drawings, and I'm worried about that. It should be good enough, I think, though. I don't think it'll be, like, so different. Get some little cuffs in here. I'm gonna cut off the corners to make it look more tucked in. And then, yep, just like that. Do the second cuff. I'm trying to work on talking more. Like, I don't think anyone can talk like completely for, you know, 3 hours straight or anything like that. I think that's not healthy. But I want to try, you know, more. Just a little bit more would be nice. Because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I bore people sometimes. I worry about that. I don't want to be boring. But I still have to be able to, like, concentrate. So, gotta have a balance. Just like everything. It's gotta be balanced. There we go. Some little, like, wrinkles. Make it look all, you know, tucked in. Nice. It's just gotta look nice zoomed out. Sometimes I forget that, like, people aren't looking at my art this closely. They're gonna look at it a little bit closely. What about art inspectors? Well, they can fuck off. Sorry, art inspectors, not today. Can you imagine if people, like, if there were art inspectors? I mean, like, I know there must be. Like, for, you know, famous artists. But can you imagine if there were, like, art inspectors for everyone? And if you did art, then you had to, like, report to an art inspector. Like, what happens if you don't report to the art inspector? You're gonna get audited. I don't know what that means. I know it's bad. I know it has something to do with the IRS. But I don't know. The IRS audits, but so can other agencies. Oh. See, I don't know nothing. Most often it's a financial audit, but it's basically a detailed comb through your accounts. Ah, I see. Your processes, files, whatever they're auditing. Ah. I see. Alright, those pants look really detailed and good, and they make the shoes look like crap, so... this is what happens sometimes. You do really good on one part of it, and you're like, I don't know about this other part. Just a little more shading on here, I think. I like the shoes. No, I like the shoes. I just think they don't look as detailed as the pants. It's fine though. I'm sure once everything's together, it'll look good. I arted too close to the sun on the pants. For some reason. Okay, the belt is like this. We need the old farts here to determine your 80's accuracy. I know. I don't know if anyone's actually old enough in my chat to say. Like, my dad's not here. My dad was a child of the 80's. He was born in 1969. And yes, he does say that's the reason why 69 is his favorite number. I'm feeling in a detail mood today. I don't know why. Like, sometimes I'm drawing and I'm just like, I don't want to draw details. But today I want to draw the details. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I've done this wrong. There we go. Cool. Belt. Belt, belt, belt. Forgot the shirt. Actually, I don't need a holder for that. Just this is fine. I feel like I should put something on Fern's shirt, like some kind of graphic, but I haven't figured out what would fit yet. She likes poisons and herbs. Mostly she likes medicine. She's chronically ill and she's trying to find a cure for it. She has a sort of wild magic sickness, basically. So it makes her magic wild. She's trying to find a cure for it. Yeah, I almost forgot the fanny pack. So we're gonna do on one layer like a mad person. No! Don't draw on one layer, Jack. Don't do it. Too late. I'm already doing it. Because I can. Actually, I just realized I can't actually do that. Because this part needs to be above the belt. I can do this part. All on one layer. Because if it doesn't have to move, if I'm not doing like live 2D, I really don't need to draw on so many layers. There we go. I take umbrage with old, but I can't have uh-huh. What do you know? Were you around in the 80s, Kenj? The 85 means you were born in the 80s, right? So you wouldn't actually know. Nobody remembers when they were born. You're too young. Kenj is too young. I remember the 90s perfectly. You do know cultural 80s. That's fair. But do you know the fashion? Because that's what we're getting into right now. I grew up without an internet. All we had were 80s reruns. What do you think? What do you think, Kenj? Is this 80s? I think I did okay. For not knowing anything about the 80s. I did a lot of research when I was drawing the sketch. Jeans are a little loose on the bottom, but that hits the right vibe. Well, but I saw a bunch of people like cuffing their jeans and then they would balloon out like this, so I don't know. I cartoonified them. Also, I hate skinny jeans. I have a personal vendetta against skinny jeans because I wore them in like high school or like middle school. And yeah. I squeezed my thick thighs into those skinny jeans, and it was not fun. not that they wore skinny jeans, but the straight leg was really all they had. Yeah, these are straight leg. They're straight. They're very straight leg. It's just that Fern's so skinny that the straight leg that they got the right vibe. You got the right vibe. I'm being nitpicky, and I'm nitpicking back with you. I'm being silly back. We're just being silly bitches together. That's fine. Sometimes you just gotta be a silly bitch. That's not the right color. You cannot bucket fill with transparent. Straight. Not here. I don't know any straight people. I'm a silly bitch. We're all silly bitches. There's no escaping being a silly bitch in this chat. If you're here, you're a silly bitch. Shop deliver yet again. We had this discussion in Bleck's chat yesterday. Where I believe it was revealed that you are not straight. So don't you try to trick me, mister. You've been assigned bisexual. Abass assigned bisexual in stream. See, I don't know any straight people. And if you think you're straight, you're lying. It will be discovered at some point that you are not. All I'm saying is I have a preference. Yeah, that's fine. You can have a preference. Doesn't make you straight. Moxie has a preference for Nathan. Doesn't make her straight. Well, I guess Nathan's not cis either, so. You can be 80-20 bi. Ooh, 80-20. Makes good burger. You want like 90-10 for like pasta sauces and stuff like that. So there's not a bunch of extra fat like in the pan. But a burger, you want that 80-20. Anyways, what are we talking about? You could be burger bi. Why is the pig moving? He's moving. I wanna be a burger boy. I feel like, hang on, 1 second. Something funky's happening. Speed 10. FPS 9. Aha! Found it! I found where I fucked up. Alright, there we go. Fixed it. Alrighty, yeah, I fucking love a good burger. I am a simple man. Burger. I love a good burger. Burger. Making me hungry. I made dinner last night, and it wasn't like, you know, a difficult to make dinner or whatever. But I was kind of, I don't know. I'd kind of hoped that, like, someone would put away the leftovers. And, like, nobody did. So, we just have, like, a whole pot of pasta that can't be eaten anymore. And I'm so sad about it. What happened to my music? Why does it keep pausing itself? I don't understand. The technology is out to get me. Sounds like people were breaking the law. You eat it, you help clean up. Thank you. Exactly. Yeah, people forget that here. They forget that rule. And then we don't get to eat tasty leftovers. It was okay pasta. It wasn't the best pasta I've ever made. It was like a jar sauce and some pasta. But still. Like, what? Help me help you. You eat the pasta. You gotta clean up the pasta. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, so I woke up and I went downstairs and I went, I didn't tell anyone to put away the food. Fuck! There it is. Pot of pasta. Still some left in the bottom. And a single meatball. That was not put away in the fridge, so I couldn't eat it for breakfast. I made myself a mediocre omelet instead. Oh yeah, this is the plushie that Fern won. It's a little bugbear. Some kind of character from a cartoon, I'm sure. Let's see. I'm flying through this drawing today. I don't know what I'm gonna do if I finish. If you finish early, you can make... No. I can't believe I thought you had a serious request. Well, then maybe you should join Ham's streams. Your stream avatars got busted? Oh, man. Well, that sucks.
One day you guys will get a new joke. One day. Never. Like my dad. My dad never gets new jokes. This one is perfectly fine. Oh boy. Did my music pause itself again? What is happening? Something's fucked up. Trevor entrenched as your first piece of fan art. It's here to stay. No. No. You guys are ridiculous. Ugh. Oh, I could make a Mo Chicken art. It's only fair. He's drawn me twice now. I gotta catch up. There we go. There we go. That's really cute, actually. I'm very, very happy with that. Okay, where is the...
do the back jacket here. How do I want to do this? If I do this like this. Okay. The plushie is still above it. Am I using the wrong blue? Ah, shoot. Alright, there we go. No longer using the wrong blue. Wrong purple. There we go. That looks pretty good to me. Alright, then I gotta save as export this, and then we go like this. Hi, Fluffy Puff. And then wait from clipboard. Export PNG. good. How are you? Alright, then I'm gonna just on stream I'm gonna add her to Toy House. So you guys can see how I do this, actually. Kind of. I do my Toy House stuff. Just laying you in bed cuddling with your cat. Aww. Excellent. There we go. Alright, so this is big for some reason. Alright. This is File Garden. This is where I keep all of the things that I need to put into Toy House because it's all through links. So I'm just gonna upload these real quick. And now I have these. These are not transparent. Why? Export PNG. Why is it not transparent? I saved it as transparent, I thought. Export PNG. Burn 80s. Yes. Scale combined image, it reduces tabs between layers when scaling. First of all, that needs to be the right size. Draw with opacity. Huh. What's happening here?
I missed something? Ah, found it. I found the magic button. I found the magic button that transparents the thing. I just couldn't see it through the ADHD. Alright. So, we upload these images to File Garden. Then I go to my toy house, which I recently updated. Look how cute it is. This is my toy house page. Where you can find all of my characters and stuff. So this is Fern's page. Oh, I don't have the pirate one either, so I gotta do that too. So this is Fern's page. She has this outfit carousel. You can switch between their outfits. And then, so I go manage character, edit profile, and then I have to scroll through all of this code, which is not my favorite thing, but it's fine. I didn't write this code, by the way. I found it. I don't... this one is by Orion? I think if the top code is, and then this code is something else. Okay. And then I think this is where I copy and paste. We're gonna do that twice. And then, so this one... This one is going to be pirate. And if you go to Font Awesome, they have these icons that you can copy. This one a free one. There you go. Hello. So if I just put this here and here, then that should do that. What up? I'm doing some toy house stuff. And then what do we want for what? The 80s outfit, let's see if there's like an arcade thing. Maybe the gamepad. That works. Just replace this there, and then this would be 80s. So now I take this is the pirate outfit, and it goes here. What? What? What am I guessing? You cut another. I hate you. How dare you? How dare you? So that should be 3 and 4. We should be able to copy these icons here. pirate. And it was a shiny Machop. Oh, that was the first shiny you ever caught in Pearl? That's so cool. Dude, your shiny luck. I don't know how. I don't know how you do it. And then I click update character. And if we go back here, it should be... Yeah. Oh, this one's not working. Why? Cowboy. Oh no, it's not working. Why? These are here. Alright, let me look. Music player. Hi, Luke. Outfits. Carousel. Item active. Carousel item. Okay. Work gave you a gift card for the holidays. You're gonna pick up ZA and freaking battle y'all. Yes! Oh my gosh, we should totally do a Pokemon tournament at some point. That'd be so cool. My brother had a friend who had such sickeningly good luck, he occasionally just didn't bother catching shinies. Oh my god. Okay. End. Carousel thumbnails. Carousel item. Active. I thought I could just add to it. Carousel thumbnails. I'm hoping I get ZA for Christmas. If not, though, I'll probably just buy it for myself. Outfit carousel. Index 1. The heck? One. Two. 4 is this one. And outfit 3 is this one. Wait. This goes here. Okay. This is that. This is that. This should say 80s. This one. Should say pirate. And then if I update character. What the heck? It's not working. So thumbnails. What language is that? I'd sincerely like to avoid it like the plague. It's HTML! It's specifically HTML where I can't use CSS. So yeah. Kenj, you can buy yourself pink chucks. Like, nobody's stopping you. You could just do that. Okay. Content line items. My bank account would argue with you. Well, yeah, that is a problem. But, like, the next time you have some spendable money, you could. Who knows when that'll be, but, you know. Oh, boy. One. Ah, I found it. 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 0, 1, 2, 3. I found the one line that the one character I needed to change. There we go. Yay! Oh my god, it's working. Okay, phew. So, yeah, now we have default. Yeah, your spendable money is going to tattoo day tomorrow. Yeah, that's gonna be so cool. So we have default, cowboy, pirate, and 80s. She's so cute. I love Fern. Well, now what? Now what am I supposed to do? By the way, if you want to check out this page yourself, I do believe that this is... that my Toy House page is in the description somewhere. It's in my link somewhere. Somewhere there is a link to the Toy House page. I don't know who was allowed to access it and stuff, but... Okay. Wow, look at this. I'm all caught up. Now what do I do? Let me go through my other Toy House pages. Wait. What do I actually have? I just updated this one. I don't think these ones are updated. Oh yeah, Mo Chicken fan art. Yeah, these ones aren't updated. I need to do those too. Vesper and Nexus. Anyways. Let me see. They don't have any kind of like avatar that they use. They just have their little like chicken mascot. You can do as much fan art as you want. I don't know what hashtag free the fan art means. I really love the gradients on Nexus, by the way. Thank you. I love the gradients on Nexus too. Do we have a good reference of Mo? He's just a chicken. Can't build a brand on just a chicken. He's a brown chicken. That's a good reference. Literally just a chicken. You can't build a brand on just a chicken. Mo, watch me. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but... I just know VTubers, okay? I know VTubers. That's all I know. That's my character. That's my character design. Background is looking at a lot of VTubers. I don't think I know how to draw a chicken. I don't know if I want to stumble drawing Mo on stream. I do. I should. I should send them something back. Do they have any like? They have this like other mascot, it seems. This little like anime girl. Maybe? Or is that a specific character? I think they do have this like little anime girl. There's also... Their thumbnails are so good. I'm scrolling through their YouTube channel. Reverse image search for what? Oh, to see if it's part of something? No, but like I'm scrolling through and I see that I'm seeing this character several times. So I think they actually do have a second character. I don't quite know who she is, but she seems to appear in thumbnails a lot. Hey, that's the blick. Maria, is that her name? They're both his OCs. Is that like any good? Problem is that I'm only seeing like basically face images. One of the it's got the one big jam. Both of us with a fan art rebuttal. It's like art fight. It's like art fight. Let's go. I don't know anything about this character. He did such a wonderful job. I want to do a good job too. All right, let's see here. Let's just start sketching here. Sorry, that was loud. Probably. I kind of think it would be funny if we have like simple characters are so hard. But she's like not happy about holding him. It's kind of funny. Too long. You're working more than usual. I'm sorry for your loss. People are talking to you. Ew, why would they do that? Aw, man, Kedge getting talked at too? What's up with today? Getting talked at? Who does that? I'm not letting you guys I'm not letting you guys smoke. You already gamble. I just love smoking. It does look really cool, even if it smells like ass. It smells like ass and it gives you cancer. Lives a life of debauchery and scandal. Beer? You guys have beer in your fridge at work? You heard another office pop champagne? Wow. 'Tis the season for alcohol, I guess. Maybe Ham works at a beverage store. How would I work from home from a beverage store? I don't know. Maybe you do like inventory stuff. Canada's not that kind of utopia, unfortunately. Someone's like, I need a bottle of red wine. And you shove that shit in a tube and it goes shoof, sliding to its destination. You can buy $1 beer in Ontario. Oh my god. Are we sure Ham is even actually Canadian? I'm across the country from this guy. I have no idea what you're talking about, but that's how you know I'm not Canadian. I'm not happy with this. No, all Canadians must know each other. That's the law. Good morning, Moxie. It's okay. We're doing Mo fan art because I finished what I was supposed to be doing. I'm just making sure I have the colors down first. I'm not gonna leave it like this. I don't do a lot of fan art. It's weird to like draw other people's characters right now. I don't think I've done fan art since like my drawing Markiplier and Jacksepticeye phase. I don't know, I kind of like if I'm gonna draw something for someone, right? I kind of want them to like see it. And it makes me sad to think of like I could draw fan art, but they're never gonna see it, so what's the point? Is kind of what, like, in my brain. But Mo will see this at some point, so. Acceptable. Oh god, don't remind me. Not the Septiplier. It haunts my nightmares. Truly, that I was a part of that. In any capacity. Oh, someone found my old Tumblr pages. I'd be ruined. I truly believe. Ken's doesn't even know. Ken's just traumatizing me and doesn't even know. Hit a home run. I don't know how I ended up with this color. That's wrong. There we go. It's okay, we were all cringe. It's just the older you get, the less likely it is your cringe is preserved on the net forever. I think I deleted it. And I wasn't, like, popular or anything, so... I don't think it's available for people to find. All my cringe was deleted when MySpace was purged. MySpace was cool and encouraged you to learn HTML to customize your page. That's what I'm doing with Toy House. Do you know that Gen Alpha doesn't know how to find a downloaded file on their computer? See you, Luke. I encourage you to rank your friends. Something I could all use to keep them in their place. Everyone out here assuming they're in my top 5. Alpha's like 11. They have time to learn. I knew how to do that shit when I was 11. Being 11 is not an excuse, and also they're not 11. They're like teenagers now. We're moving on to Gen Beta or something. Beta is right. It's so cringe. Oh no, fuck. They stopped doing computer science and computer classes because kids were digital natives, but actually they're natives to completely closed off and app-based systems, so they got screwed. Yeah. Okay. So apparently Gen Alpha is between 2010 and 2024. So there are some young Gen Alphas still. But the oldest Gen Alphas are 15. They're 15! But they could be 15! And they don't know how to use computers! Or they're 11 and they don't know how to use computers. The things I'm hearing from teachers are horrifying. It's horrifying! They can and need parents to teach them. Yes! I hope that if any of you have children or are going to have children at some point, do a better job than this. Come on. Come on, man. You gotta. You gotta do better than this. Please. I'm begging. Actually begging. I'm begging parents to do better. Stop leaving your children unattended on the internet without teaching them how to use it safely. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this to the next generation? My parents were hands off. It's a problem all generations have faced. Yeah, but schools used to teach you shit. Yeah, exactly. Now it's up to the parents. We should ban Luke. Wait, why? Why are we banning Luke? What did Luke do? To protect the youth. Luke is Gen Z. Luke is Gen Z like me. You'll learn nothing from us. I think it's a little late for that. He's underage. He's like 16 or 17, I think. Luke is a cusper. Same. But on the other end. But I'm on the other end of it. I should teach him phonics. He's not even here to defend himself, you guys. You can't make fun of someone, they're not even here to defend themselves. Gen Z cuspers are like 28, I thought. Well, okay, so here's the thing. Let's see. Gen Z. So, I see a lot of, like, weird... So, okay, so here's the thing. This says that Gen Z goes until 2012, but then it says that Gen Alpha goes until 2010. So, like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And sometimes I see it cut off at like sometimes I see it cut off at like 2000. Well, hang on. What? I thought that I was... Okay, this says 1997 is Gen Z. But sometimes it's cut off at like 2000 or like 2002. This says 1997. I think it's intentionally unclear because cuspers. Yeah. So this says Gen Z starts at 2001 to 2020. What? That's wrong. That's wrong. That's gotta be wrong. So, okay, generally 1997 is the cutoff for Gen Z. But here's the thing, I have so much millennial nostalgia because my siblings are millennials. So I got some of their nostalgia as well. So, I don't know. It's fucking weird is what it is. That's the truth. The truth is that it's weird. All the boomers act like millennial is code for kids these days. True. Looks like I forgot to do the thing. It's always been a very vague way of just actually describing people's experiences. Yeah. But like adults these days. It's really funny. Call your Gen X friends a boomer and see how they react. My dad is so... He gets so mad if anyone calls him a boomer, because he's like, I'm not a boomer. Everyone is fucking crazy. That's just a fact. I'm crazy, but like in a way that is my problem, not anyone else's, if I can help it. Yeah, I try to keep my crazy to myself, you know? I try to keep it, you know, low key. There we go. Just a little bit of life in the skin. Speaking of age, I just filled out the consent form for my tattoo appointment. It took so long to scroll to 1985. I'm so sorry. I have no idea if this is the correct character dynamic for these guys. But I think it will be funny, so hopefully it's okay. I always worry when I'm making fan art for someone, or just like making art for someone that like I don't know their characters very well. I worry like whether I'm getting the dynamic correct between them. So hopefully it's okay. What are you laughing at? Just saw a rat with one eye and Winkerbell! Alright, that's pretty good. That's a good one. All right, can we do a can we make a chicken in half an hour? Let's find out. Come on. What do I want you to do? There we go. Yeah, that's what I want. Chimkin. I think if I get enough fan art, I want to make my offline screen like a little cycle of fan art, of people's fan art. Because I see people do that sometimes. But I'd have to get like a lot of fan art to do that. I'd have to like regularly get a lot of fan art to do that, I think. Maybe not. Maybe it just wouldn't change much for a while. Maybe it would encourage fan art. To have like a little rotating thing of fan art. I don't know. See your fan art on stream. Doing it on the offline screen wouldn't be very motivating though. Because I'm often like raiding out, right? Maybe in the opening one. I need to do the fan art I was thinking about. Maybe I put it in the loading screen. Like where I would normally put like whatever game I'm playing in the little TV. Maybe I could do that. I think that'd be fun. I feel like I wouldn't want to... I'd have to curate it a little bit, because otherwise it would just be a lot of people, like... putting, I'd have to curate it to you know, match my brand, I guess. Like, I can't just have any fan art. You know? It needs to be, you know. Could make a cute BRB screen as well. It could, yeah. Like, I don't want a bunch of, like, fart drawings on my cute fan art carousel, you know? I wouldn't put those there. I don't want to encourage that behavior. Looks so cute. Thank you. I was gonna do a Jack in the Box. That's cute. I would love to see that. Anyways, I wasn't saying that you were gonna do that. I was just saying that it could happen. Because I know you guys. And the fact that you thought I was talking about you specifically makes me awfully suspicious. I don't know about that. I'm sure you all will make lovely fan art. And if you don't, it won't go on the carousel. I mean, that's just the... At the end of the day, I get to decide what's on my stream, right? That feels mean. I don't know. I mean, at some point I would have to, like, curate more. I don't know what you mean. Sure you don't. You got some strong lad? Lag? Lad? Strong lad? Wow. Apparently my brain has some strong lag. Gonna refresh. Okay. I'm gonna outline this like a sticker. I don't know why, but I feel like it. Because I don't feel like really doing like a background. When do I ever feel like doing a background? You forgot? Oh, wow. How could anyone forget about that? Happy Honda Days, Kenjamin. You're outlining by hand? Damn, that's dedication. Is there another way to do it? I don't know, I've always done it this way. CSB has an outline tool. Dang. CSP really, I feel like that, I don't know if that would work on my art though. Cause I have like a lot of texture. It's interesting. I'll have to try that at some point. For sure. fix all these weird spots. Group all the layers, it'll work on the group as well. Interesting. All right, well, I think this is done. Just about. Let's do a little bit of cleanup. Halftone tool, that's cool. Super cute, thank you. I really like this actually. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I do. Sign it. Can't give anything away without signing it. I have a thing about signing things. I got into an argument with a friend about it. We are no longer friends. I like to sign things. I think it's nice. Yeah, it was sort of a commission. But it was a commission for like way less than it should have been, and we were friends. And I basically said they wanted to use my art on the cover of some book or something. And afterwards, I signed it and I sent it off, and they were like, it looks great, but I don't like your signature on it. Is essentially what they said. And it was just like this, basically. Like something that's very subtle. Like hidden in the art. And yeah, so they didn't like it, and they were like, well, I'm gonna sell this pamphlet or whatever it was, they were book or whatever it was they were making. I'm gonna sell this. I don't want your signature on it. And I was like, well, my signature is for the art. And I was like, if you want me to take my signature off, like, you're gonna have to pay me a lot more money. And they're like, well, I can't do that because, like, you know, I don't have a lot of money. And I was like, I know. I'm gonna keep my signature on here. Yeah, it was a lot. But, yay! Look, this is done! On a much more positive note. I'm actually gonna make that just a little bit darker. Just so it's on there. But yeah. I'm actually really happy with this.
I think it's really cute. It's kind of her face is kind of reminding me of like Wind Waker a little bit. So I'm very happy with this. I will export a pung. But yeah. Yeah, I went around to like everyone in my family and I was like, am I the asshole? Basically everyone was like, no. Was it ever stated like was it ever stated one way or the other? No. Well, then you can do whatever you want, basically. There was no contract, there was nothing that said one way or the other, and they got mad at me. And that was the second time that I lost a friend, quote unquote friend, over a commission thing. The first time, my drawing tablet broke. My drawing tablet broke and I was like, fuck, I really need a new drawing tablet. I'm really depressed. I don't know what to do. And my friend was like, I'll send you the money for a new drawing tablet and you don't even have to draw anything for me. Like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And I was like, wow, that's so nice of you. Thank you. And then a while later, we got into a different argument. We got into some argument and they were like, where's my commission? And I was like, what? And they said, you said you would send me a commission. And I was like, I told you I was depressed and you said you would send me the money for the tablet and you didn't even care if you got anything out of it. And they're like, that's not what I said. And I was like, yes, it is. You're gaslighting me. I was being gaslit. But yeah. That's why I don't do commissions anymore. Is those two incidents. Pretty much. That's why I don't do commissions anymore. I thought maybe one day I would like make some kind of contract thing and then I would do commissions again, but I never got around to it, so I don't do commissions. That's why the commissions that I am taking right now are things that appear on my stream. They're not like things that you take away and I never see again. But yeah, let's put this on the Blacking Crew. Let's do it. Wah, wah, wah. I've had a lot of friends who I don't think deserved me. Alright, it has been sent off. I'm gonna post Fern too, but that's gonna go in my personal showcase. Let's see, where's that? I need to stop posting those one at a time. I love artists. Like, this is the reason I love, like, Art Fight. It's just an excuse to send your friends art. I love that. It's great. I should put all of Fern's outfits on Art Fight. That'd be really funny. Because Fern's got a lot of outfits now. She's got her regular outfit, and then she was a cowboy, and then she was a pirate, and then now she's in the 80s, and we're not even, I don't even know how many floors we're gonna do. There could be so many. We could die at some point and have to start all over. Time travel! Yay! Actually, I'm really enjoying this campaign. It's really fun. So a very productive day today, I believe. And hang out for a few more minutes. It's only 11:50. What else can we do? I really am enjoying Maria's expression here. I'm very much enjoying this. The Windbreaker, yeah, the Windbreaker, and her little bugbear plushie. I love this thing. we landed in an 80s arcade, and I went, I need a stuffed animal, and then I suddenly realized that like 80s arcades didn't really have grain machines in the same way that we do now. But that's fine. It had a crane it had a crane machine anyways. And yeah, I love it. So cute. I should post this to my my friend's Discord as well. My friends. Bake him on Friday. Wow. D&D gaming. Upload Fern from the 80s. Yeah. Alright. Well, that's all I had planned. But now what? What can I do with like 10 minutes of time? I don't want to go. I'm having fun. I'm not done having fun yet. Do an homage to ugly little guys. I can't do the ugly little guys justice. I do have good little guys. You can get a good little guy on my Ko-fi. Their existence is not a justice. I mean, I can't draw ugly things. I'm really truly I'm not good at drawing ugly things on purpose. Oh man, I'm so excited for Paralives. You're too skilled to draw bad. No, I'm not skilled enough to draw ugly things. I'm not skilled enough. The reason it works is because Bleck is so good. Wait, let's figure out, how do I do a... Oh, image slideshow. I bet that's it. If I go here and I go image slideshow.
Directory. Where did I put that fan art thing? I had a thing. Oh, maybe it's under Twitch. Twitch fan art. There we go. Okay. And then if I add a filter to it and I paste my filter. Can't get better if you don't practice drawing ugly things. That is true. No, I don't think this is working. I like the image slideshow, but not on the TV. I'll have to figure out another place to put it. I could put it on here. I don't know. I'll mess with it later. I gotta work on Christmas presents today. I'm lagging a little bit behind. Alright. It is just about time for me to let you all go. Let me see if there's anyone to raid right now. Ooh, okay. One of my favorite streamers is streaming a Pokemon MMO. So let's go over there. Make sure you stay for the raid, guys. Make sure you stay for the raid. Adamo sketches. So let's go on over there. Hop in the raid. And 3 viewers is not a lot, but it's fine. We'll send our little party over there. And I will see you guys all on Monday. Bye-bye!